Hi, and welcome back. I'm Michelle, also known as the Krafty Librarian. So apparently this prompt engineering thing is the must-have skill. It is the little black dress on top of your AI. People are taking courses, putting it on LinkedIn, talking about it like it has just showed up out of nowhere. And every time I hear that, I think, hello, we've been doing this forever. Medical librarians just didn't discover prompt engineering. We built our whole profession around it. We just call it searching. So let's walk through this, because once you see it, you can't really unsee it. At its core, prompt engineering isn't complicated. It's figuring out what someone is asking and translate that into something the system or the computer understands. Looking at the output, refining that question, and then adding it again until you get something useful or the correct answer. That's it. That's basically what we do every time librarians build a search strategy. The only thing different is the tool has changed. PubMed, Embase, CINAHL, even Google have been historically the tools that we have searched. Now, the new tool on the block is AI. It's the same skill, it's just a new interface, and we have to adjust our skills to match that interface. So let's start with something basic. Somebody asked, should we be using beta blockers in heart failure patients with COPD? Most normal people type that whole sentence in and hope for the best. But a medical librarian doesn't do that. We slow it down, our brains work in a different way, and we take that search statement and we break it apart. Heart failure, COPD, beta blockers, those are the three parts to that. And we structure it, we look at different terms, we look at controlled vocabulary, we refine it, we look at it and evaluate it for the database that we decide to search. And then when we get the output, we evaluate what comes back and adjust our search accordingly to get the best answers. That's designing the input or the search, or prompt engineering. So another part of prompt engineering that I think kind of people forget to think about, or I think is important, is people tend to think about prompt engineering and frame it as like a technical skill. And in my opinion, it's not. It's an information skill. And once you understand that, you're going to understand the next two pieces that I think are inherent to librarians for prompt engineering. It's translation and skepticism. And we'll get into that to make a little more sense. But first, let's talk about translation. Translation is something that librarians do all the time when we're asked a question, and we don't even really think about it. We hear somebody say, should we use beta blockers in heart patients with COPD? And medical librarian brains, we start to think about the databases that we want to use and the terms that we want to use and how they operate within the database. So if we're doing a search in PubMed or in Medline, we know that heart attack becomes myocardial infarction. Beta blockers become adrenergic beta antagonists. I can't say it, but I can spell it. And COPD, well, we don't type those actual letters in. We know that in Medline, we could type in pulmonary disease, obstructive, chronic obstructive. Or we can actually have it map and just type in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. But we also know chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, has subcategories of chronic asthma, chronic bronchitis, pulmonary emphysema. So when we're doing those search strategies and we're building the prompt in our head, we also want to know, do we need to pay attention to those subcategories? Or is the broader category of COPD okay? We are constantly translating between the human language and the system or computer language that the system or computer understands. Without translating, and if we're putting in the human version, the computer doesn't provide the best outputs. And what is that translation step? That translation step is prompt engineering. Because with AI, you're doing the same thing. You're not just asking a question. You're aligning the search strategy or the language with how the system interprets the language. And AIs do a statistical method of doing the language. They look for something similar on this. It's somewhat similar, but they look for something similar to where it is. So, for example, AI converts the question into numerical representations and basically gives the word a location on a big invisible numeric map of meaning. Based on everything that it's been trained on and seen before, it will predict what is the next likely word in the map and give you those as the answer, and so on and so on. So that is how the AI works. And when we interpret the human language, we have to interpret it into the system language. Knowing that allows us to build a better strategy. Also knowing that and knowing how the system is created allows us to better evaluate the results or the output. And that brings me to the second thing, and that is skepticism. Librarians are a little bit skeptic, and this is where librarians really kind of stand out. We don't automatically trust what the system gives us. We never really have. When I'm searching Medline or PubMed, I don't automatically assume the results are always correct and everything that I was looking for is automatically in there. I always ask if something's missing, is it indexed yet or is it too new? Is it in scope with the database or is it in a different database or somewhere else? Did I build the search strategy wrong or was there a better way to build it to retrieve better results? And am I using the right terms? Am I using mesh for Medline or do I need to use keywords or other terms that are within the controlled vocabulary depending upon the database? Or if the database doesn't use controlled vocabulary, am I using the synonyms correctly if it's using natural language or keywords, not quite natural language? And am I also, and another question I ask myself, am I too narrow with my limits or my filters? So those are some of the things that we look at when we're evaluating the results. And there's always that quiet little voice inside my head going, these are the results, but I am always looking for the best stuff. And I'm not convinced I always have the best stuff. I have to evaluate them. So the same thing goes with AI. Most normal people see AI's confident answer and think, great, I've got the answer. But me, as a librarian, I see a confident answer from AI and think, okay, but am I getting everything and is everything correct? So I test it, I push it, I rephrase it, I restructure the question because it's not just about getting an answer. It's about getting an answer that is correct and in some cases evidence-based. So when people say prompt engineering is a new skill, I really don't think it is. It's the same set of skills that librarians have always used, taking messy questions, breaking them up into concepts, structuring them in a way that the computer or the tool understands, getting the output, refining the structure or the search, and evaluating again what comes back. So in my opinion, librarians didn't fall behind when AI showed up. If anything, we've been prepping for it for this whole time. We've been using those skills to actually evaluate resources. And AI is just another tool that we evaluate the resources that it provides us. So the next time someone says prompt engineering is the skill of the future, I personally think you could say librarians have that skill. We just didn't feel the need to rename it. We call it searching. And if you're a librarian and you're not, don't worry. If you're worried about AI, don't worry. You're not starting from scratch. You're taking what you already know and applying it to a new tool. That's what we've always done. Every time we have a new tool, we take those skills and we apply them to the new tool. So I want to thank you for watching. And now you've seen what I've seen. You can't really unsee it. Librarians are the OG prompt engineers. And honestly, we've been doing it the whole time. And yes, say it loud with me. Librarians are the OG prompt engineers. See? And if you like this shirt, which I know it's backwards right here, but if you like this t-shirt, and I've done my right way of editing, you'll see it the correct way up here, right up here. You can click on my link in my bio and click on, it's pinned in the comments as well. And I want to thank you for joining me on this discussion about prompt engineering and librarians. Click the subscribe and the like button, and I'll be coming up with more content that I hopefully think you find useful. And leave a comment, and I will respond back. Thanks.